Have you ever been in a situation and thought, man, this is not exactly what I thought I was signing up for? For me, it has happened several times. Becoming a parent ranks right up there for sure. Probably also AP Calc, also grad school, and moving to Costa Rica when I was in my early 20s, and moving to the UK when my husband and I were first married. Also, definitely moving into our current house, formerly a student rental, that we thought wasn't going to need all that much work. Ha. I'm a planner for sure. Give me a potential scenario, and my mind will get right on the hamster wheel to figure out how to make it happen, to anticipate what the pitfalls might be, and to plan for all outcomes. It also means it takes me a minute to pivot when the situation changes. I know I'm not alone in this, and this tendency is even more amplified when it comes to vocation. Just like the concept of finding your dream house, your soulmate, or even your bliss, our society lifts up a fairy tale vision of vocation, finding that one thing that will make you happy when you wake up and do it every day. We're obsessed with that moment of riding off into the sunset, which almost always is pictured as happening sometime in our early adulthood. Never mind that we might have another 70 odd years to live out our lives after that point, encountering myriad changes along the way, and also changing ourselves quite a bit. I'm not sure what I'd done if I had been out fishing or mending my nets that day with Simon, Andrew, James, and John. Could I have abandoned my own expectations for my life so easily? I don't know that in that moment I would have equated faithfulness with leaving my responsibilities behind. And yet that's exactly what Andrew, Simon, James, and John did. Perhaps they loved fishing and thought of it as their vocation. Or perhaps it was the thing they were supposed to do because it was the family business and someone had to get it done. Whatever the case, however compelling that day's tasks were, or however the stability of the known might have made them want to stay put, Jesus' message was more compelling to them. The author of Mark tells us they got up immediately to follow Jesus. Into what? Surely at some point they must have eventually had second thoughts about it. We know Simon Peter did, but they could have left Jesus at any time to go back to a quiet life as fishermen. And as far as we know, they didn't. This change-filled moment in their lives gave them a clear line of definition, a before and an after. Most of our institutions, including academia, put forth the idea that there's only one narrow set of outcomes that defines a successful life, and there is no shortage of well-meaning folks in our lives who will tell us what they think we should do in order to fit that definition. But true success involves some combination of contentment and finding a place in the world, a sense of vocation that yields a place and a purpose. And vocation, after all, is contextual because, to paraphrase Frederick Buechner, it's the place where the world's deep hunger and your deep gladness meet. Sometimes circumstances outside of your control will force you to reconsider your place in the world. Sometimes it's an inner sense that you're no longer where you're supposed to be or doing what you're supposed to be doing. Even if you are lucky enough to land your dream job, even if you wake up every day feeling that that work is your vocation, your role within that work will change as you gain experience and enter into a position of more leadership. But when we're told to aspire to a vision of certainty and constancy, any of the kinds of changes I just mentioned can feel terrifying, or at least unsettling. All of those changes, even if they're good, will require a period of adjustment because humans are terrible at change. Because being called to something means being called away from something else. We prefer safety to uncertainty. But at no point does Jesus call his disciples into a life of certainty and safety. When he calls these 4 young disciples, he calls them into uncertainty. When he calls them, he asks them to entrust their lives to him. And the author of Mark says they respond with their yes immediately. Even though they can't possibly have known what Jesus saw in them, even though that meant failing to live up to certain expectations, their own or the expectations of others, even though they didn't know what the future would bring. And even though they weren't sure what they were signing up for, even though by the end they most assuredly thought they were signing up for something completely different, they decided to live out their vocation as followers of Jesus. They followed through even when it was hard, even when it meant feeling like they had to explain why they weren't doing what everyone else thought they were supposed to be doing. And in following that call, they found their lives made richer, more beautiful, and more loving. God's call to you, your baptismal call, is the call to the vocation of love. It's more important than any human measure of success. That vocation of love will be lived out in any number of ways, in any number of professions. It's what drives us to get up in the morning even when we're tired, to make our corner of the world a better place even when the world feels like it's falling apart, to seek connection when we feel disconnected from the world. It's what compels us to say yes to God's call even when we're worried about what that will mean we have to give up. It's what inspires us to live in love even when the world sees that as weakness. Love is the thread that runs through all of our lives, connecting us all to one another and to God. And that is a vocation worth signing up for. Amen.